there's been a lot of people asking me about what the best way to mitigate is. We've really come up with a three-step calculation for being able to ease away from these very severe things. And that's COVID secure, plus behaviour, plus contact tracing equals easements. What do I mean by that? Well, the Health and Safety Executive has been developing a mitigation assessment, a risk assessment around being COVID secure. That's all the things that you do in your school or in your education establishment to be able to make sure that staff and children and parents can be safe. But that's not going to work unless you have the right behaviours in place at the same time. You can have the best will in the world and, say wash your hands every 10 minutes, and you can get people, to be told to stand 4 metres apart. But if they're not complying with that, then it's not going to work. And we've found that the best way to do that is something which Welsh schools have already been doing, which is co-producing. Getting not only teachers, but also students where you can, involved in working out the best way for your school to mitigate against the dangers of transmitting COVID-19. It's going to be different for every school. Some have quite large classrooms, some small. Some have great ventilation, some have covered outdoor spaces. The safest thing to do in the hierarchy of controls is to eliminate the hazard by not being there. We'd like to slide down that to bringing people back into school, and that means we need to think about engineering controls and administrative controls, and finally PPE. PPE is the least effective of all of those methods, so let's look at some of the engineering controls. That's got to do with physical barriers. It's got to do with the way you physically set up your space so that people aren't coming into contact with each other. Some of the things you can do physically include perhaps propping open toilet doors so that there's not lots of high contact on that areas. Thinking about when you set up your hand hygiene stations. Thinking about whether or not you're going to have situations where you can keep windows open so that fresh air can circulate and get rid of any potential airborne viral particles. Those are really good, clear things you can do. Setting up your classes outside is best, but that's not going to be possible in the middle of winter.